I'm going to talk about special kind of negation and metalinguistic negation and the differences between presuppositions and the pictures from this point of view. I want to start from the very famous quotation from Yeshua Bar Hillel, a famous logician, mathematician, and linguist, who says that be more careful with frozen bits and pieces you find as a pragmatic weight basket in a favorite syntactic semantic theory. Okay. We have a kind of philosophical museum on this third floor. There you can find some philosophical artifacts like Wittgensteinian Poke. I think that Bar Hillel's waste baskets is a good item for our museum. So you'll see that it's a common opinion that it's possible to construct rigorous semantic, but it isn't possible to construct rigorous pragmatics. I tried to prove that we can elaborate rigorous pragmatics, and we can elaborate rigorous theory of interference between pragmatic and semantics. What is the implicatures? What is the presuppositions? The standard definitions of implicature. Implicature is a component of a speaker meaning that constitutes an aspect of what is meant in a speaker utterance without being part of what is said. The general thought is that the implicature is quite different from implication. For example, the short dialogue. I'm going to Paul's party. I don't like parties. Implicature, I'm not going to the party. I'm not saying explicit that I'm not going to the party. This is implicature, but I'm not saying this later on. A preposition is, I'm going to talk about pragmatic presupposition. A pragmatic presupposition of a speaker in a given context, just in case the speaker assumes or believes that P, assumes or believes that he addresses, assumes or believes that P, and assumes or believes that his addressee recognizes that he's making this assumption or has this belief. For example, when I say that John's dog is fluffy, the presupposition of the sentence that John has a dog. What is the difference between implicature and presuppositions? The common opinion that the difference between them is cancelability. Presuppositions are not cancelable, while implicatures are cancelable. I start with some quotation from Grice, who considers this property. Grice said that I think that all conversations implicature are cancelable. Then he said that the putative conversations implicatures that P is explicitly cancelable if to the former fraud the utterance of which putatively implicates that P it's admissible to add but not P. Or I don't mean to imply that P, and it's contextually cancelable if one can find situations in which the utterance of the former frauds would simply not carry the implications. There are some examples in which negation can be used to reject presuppositions. I use this example from Lawrence Horn's famous book, A Natural History of Negation. Here are these examples. I haven't stopped smoking because I have never smoked in my life. In this situation, we negate the presupposition. The number 7 doesn't dislike dancing because numbers have no feelings. He isn't neurotic or paranoid, he's both. In this example, we deal with negation not only a presupposition, but negation of scalar implicatures. In this case, presuppositions and implicatures are the same part of metalinguistic content. Chris didn't manage to solve their problem. It was easy for him. The king of France is not bold because there is no king of France. John didn't solve some of the problems, he solved all of them. So, Grice said that the difference between presuppositions are not cancelable, while implicatures are cancelable. Horn says that both presuppositions and implicatures are cancelable. This is a problem. I tried to solve this problem by means of some modern theory of pragmatics, some kind of game theoretic pragmatics, a special kind of this theory, equilibrium semantics. This is an interesting book of Prashant Parekh, Equilibrium and Semantics. I quote some reviews from our honorary professor and Nobel Prize winner in economics, Eric Muskin. Eric Laskin says that this book is an intriguing mixture of linguistic, computer science, game theory, and philosophy. It does much to illuminate an enduring mystery, how language acquires meaning. This just for promotion. What is the general idea of equilibrium semantic? What is equilibrium? Parik says the general idea of equilibrium in equilibrium semantics is that all four sets of constraints, I said about it, are in equilibrium with each constraints and across constraints, both in the context of the system of meaning and grammar and in the context of utterance. What kind of constraints he means? There is four kind of constraints: syntactic constraint, conventional constraint, informational constraint, flow constraint. First three kind of constraint are constraint of semantic kind. The second is essentially pragmatic. For example, there are two very important operators. The operator of merging. This operator combines different types of information in one piece of information. This is like situational semantics of pairwise and pairing, the standard notation, standard operator. And head conversion works like a standard lambda operator. If you have lambda p and construction p with variable x, we can use lambda abstraction and build construction like p from x. For example, if we have a sentence like John saw a planet, first of all we make a syntactic constraint, then we find information in our vocabulary. For example, planet has different meanings. Pluto may be planet, maybe not. Then we construct some kind of inform. There is a predicate, two arguments, variable for location, variable for time, and some kind of order on a moment of time. The standard semantics of John is just work like definite description, like in standard standards in formal semantics. So it just predicates with some constraints on time. There are different kinds of translation way to equilibrium semantics. In this particular case, we use first a working like a special kind of function, and planet it just predicates. It has 2 meanings. It depends on what kind of vocabulary we choose. The most interesting constraint is flow constraint. Parik used construction from David Lewis, a famous signaling game. Signaling game is a game between sender and receiver, or speaker and hearer. We need a set of possible words, a probability relation on this set, the set of meanings, the set of action, two utility function for sender, a utility function for receiver. Their strategy for sender is function from possible words to meaning. The strategy for hearer or receiver is a set of functions from meaning to the action. This is two forms of this signaling game. The first one is extensive form. The second one is a game in strategic form. This is algebraic notation. We can use numbers instead of a particular point in this game. The most important notion in this game is equilibria. If we use some syntactic semantic constraints, there are different equilibria in these games, and one equilibrium will determine the structure of the meaning. I want to consider how equilibrium semantic works using example from discourse anaphora. It's just a simple example. Then I use this methodology for metalinguistic negation. If we see the sentence like this, a cop saw Kurdum and he chased him, there are different ways of understanding the sentence and this situation. We built some kind of Lewisian signaling games. There are four strategy. for speaker and 2 strategy for hearer. And utility function depends on the cost of a message. The hearer is faced with a decision problem, which elements of the discourse model should take as a referent of him. If we extend this consideration slightly, we should observe that the speaker is also faced with a decision, namely, given a context and the discourse model, D should be used a pronoun to refer to a particular elements of D, or should he use definite description. In this game, we have equilibrium, 10-10. In this situation, speaker use a pronoun. He says he, and here understand him in a right way. In strategic form, the equilibrium will be when speaker use strategy mu and phi, and the hearer uses strategy p. If we bind together 2 kinds of games for every pronoun in the citation, we make a very more big game. We have 2 pronouns, we have 2 different descriptions, and every branch of the games reflect every possible station when we use 2 pronouns, when we use 1 pronoun and 1 different descriptions. And the equilibrium in these games will be in the same place. Finding the Warwick and Clark says that finding the intended reference from pronoun, for example, is not so much a problem of trust conditions, but rather a precondition for computing them. Pragmatic problems such as presupposition and conversational implicatures are best treated as cooperative games between the speaker and hearer, rather than there are some competition between virtual information agents. The most important feature of equilibrium semantics is the possibility for merging games. If we have 2 games for every 2 informs, we can merge these games together and we have a new game. For example, this is just illustration of this merging. We have 2 games of the same structure. We bind them together and we change the utility function for the speaker and hearer, for the receiver and the sender. I think that we can use this approach to the problem of metalinguistic negations. In our example, I haven't stopped smoking because I have never smoked in my life. We have 2 games. The first game for first part of this sentence, I haven't stopped smoking. In these games, we have a presupposition. This presupposition this presupposition is I smoke. And the second part of the game, I have never smoked in my life. When we merge these 2 games, we change the place of equilibrium and we change the place of the presupposition. This is the first kind of game, the first part of the sentence. I haven't stopped smoking. We have 2 situations, 4 strategies for the speaker, 2 strategies for the hearer. In the situation 5, speaker can say just this sentence and mean explicit presuppositions, and 5 bar sentence plus explicit negation of presuppositions. Or speaker can say mu or mu bar. In this situation, speaker will mean implicit presuppositions or implicit negation of presupposition. Mu and mu bar are informational sets for hearer. That means that hearer doesn't know where he is. And the second part of these games, I have never smoked in my life. The internal part of these games will be erased because we have nothing to say about presuppositions. This particular sentence has no presuppositions. When we bind, when we erase this part of the game, we will have game 2. I have never smoked in my life. It's just 2 strategies for speaker and for hearer. And if we bind these games together, we change the place of the equilibrium. The first part of the game for presuppositions, the second part of the game for the negation of presuppositions. And we have such new game. It's like the first one, but with a different equilibrium. Equilibrium will be at the R bar 3 instead of 5 1 bar. In this situation, we see that we change the equilibrium and we can cancel the presupposition. But in this model, presuppositions are cancelable. Again, in game 1, equilibrium is mu and B1, A2, B2, and at the final game, equilibrium at the phi bar 1. This model shows that both presuppositions and implicatures are cancelable by means of metalinguistic negation. In some sense, it's possible to say that all presuppositions are implicatures. Of course, not all implicatures are presuppositions. And equilibrium semantics shows us how we can combine semantics and pragmatics. And we can say to Barhilo that pragmatic is node-based baskets. It's possible to combine semantic and pragmatics in some formal model. I think that this approach belongs to the tradition of Wittgensteinian linguistic games. Wittgenstein says for a large class of cases, so not for all, in which we employ the word meaning, it can be defined thus. The meaning of a word is it is used in the language. Of course, Wittgenstein doesn't like game theory, but he talks about about language games as a metaphor, but I think that equilibrium semantics is part of Wittgensteinian tradition because every minimal piece of language is a game, and when we try to compute the meaning of the whole sentence, we combine games together, not only the semantics of words, but the semantics of some expressions which can be formulated as games. Thanks.
Can you illustrate can you illustrate cancelability of the presupposition? Any example? Just don't get it.
Any investigation, yeah. I haven't stopped smoking. What is the presupposition? I used to smoke, no? Because I have never smoked in my life. The first part of the sentence. I haven't stopped smoking. What is the presupposition? Then I say I have never smoked in my life. I deny this presupposition. Or he isn't neurotic or paranoid.
It is the ancient sophistic tradition.
Like there is not a case with, right? There is not a case with.
Translation.
You haven't lost what you didn't have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for this really impressive presentation. Again, I've learned a lot. You said in the end, all presuppositions are implicatures.
Yeah.
And added, but of course not all implicatures are presuppositions.
Yeah.
What are on your terms then, what is on your terms then the difference between those implicatures that we regard as presuppositions and those implicatures that we don't regard as presuppositions?
I call implicatures all forms of non-literal meaning. It's implicatures. Some kind of implicatures are presuppositions. There are different kinds of implicatures. For example, scalar implicatures. When I say I ate, or I have 3 dogs, I mean that I have exactly 3 dogs, not at least 3 dogs. This is presupposition. Oh, this is implicatures, scalar implicatures, but not presuppositions. If I say I have a fluffy dog, the presupposition I have a dog. All presuppositions are implicatures.
Yeah, but the point I want to make, if I may, is that
question.
Usually, as you said in the beginning, presuppositions are construed as being not cancelable, right? This is the contrast.
I'm trying to say that all presuppositions are cancelable.
Yes, but usually, no, be patient. Usually the difference between presuppositions and implicatures is construed as being the difference between being cancelable and not being cancelable, right? So now you say presuppositions are cancelable, hence all presuppositions are implicatures, right? But still you say not all implicatures are presuppositions, right? So I ask you, what are on your terms the defining characteristics of presuppositions? Not on the terms of Grice.
There is a special mechanism for generating presuppositions. It's some kind of lexical trigger. Some words have trigger to generate a presupposition. There are different kind of implicatures. Some of them are presuppositions. Some implicatures use the mechanism for generate presuppositions. This is the difference.
Just using a word that signals this is a presupposition.
Yeah.
Okay.
In a lexicon.
Yeah.
At the level of lexicon. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm slow. I'm not sure to understand the difference between presupposition and implicature. That's always the same. Sorry. So I guess that just tell me if I'm wrong. The king, for instance, research sentence, the king of France is bold is a presupposition about the king's existence, and not some students are smoking is an implicator, but not all students are smoking.
It's called implication.
There's a difference between both. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, the different meaning. And the question of the feasibility of your general system, because I was unable to understand your symbolism. Does it mean that in order to make a difference in meaning, you need to introduce some further parameters into the model? You introduce a context-sensitive meanings or something like this? Like Steinicker's pragmatics? Or where is the difference between this system and Steinicker's?
Steinecker used some kind of epistemic games and dynamic epistemic logic, yeah?
No, I thought about the
believe, if you mean,
thought about the different meaning about indexicals, for instance.
Indexicals is semantics, totally. The games,
okay,
games for indexicals are
but
very,
there's
very
a specific
easy.
meaning of pragmatics according to which you say that the meaning of individual or symbol depends upon the context in which you utter the sentence. And this sense of pragmatics has to do with semantics. It's a recanative, transfer recanative semantics, for instance. It's something intertwined between semantics and pragmatics. I don't know exactly where is the borderline between both.
We have to consider meanings and context, combine them together and calculate the probability function for them. Then we have to find an equilibrium. This is a difference from Steinecker model, I think.
Probably.
Vitaly, in a nutshell, you prove that presuppositions are cancelable with metalinguistic negation.
Yeah.
But you suppose that one can merge linguistic game and metalinguistic game. Is it legal?
What do you mean by metalinguistic game?
Metalinguistic negation, so metalinguistic game. You must differentiate it. Then.
I don't understand what does metalinguistic games mean. Is this game Lewisian games? Я по-русски не пойму, нет, ну.
Нет, ну.
What is example of metalinguistic?
Я могу по-русски, но если металингвистическое отрицание значит какое-то необычное, да? Оно в необычном смысле использовано, по крайней мере, в необычных каких-то функциях. Ну, значит, и игра с этим отрицанием тоже будет немножко другая, чем игра с обычным отрицанием. И еще слушатель должен распознать, что это две разные игры. Что одно отрицание металингвистическое, а другое лингвистическое.
А можно пример металингвистического? Ну, просто пример.
А вот так примеров-то было много. Что повторять?
Отмена пресуппозиции — это металингвистическое отрицание.
I think that it's possible to construct the unified theory for meta games, metalinguistic games. That will be the same theory. There are no problem of level.
Okay. But I doubt it.
Okay.
Если металогика, то все равно классическая. В объектный язык включается мета-язык, тогда любая игра это мета-язык.
Она переносится в мета-язык тогда. Но, возникает вопрос, а погашаются ли тогда металингвистические пресуппозиции? Ты показал, как металингвистическое отрицание погашает обычные пресуппозиции.
There are no metalinguistic presuppositions.
You say so, but I doubt it.
Okay. I believe that possible to translate this theory from the language of game theory to the language of epistemic dynamic logic. In this theory there are no metalinguistic presuppositions. I don't know what yeah.
And if you don't believe it, then?
I don't know.
You say, oh, I believe that it's possible to translate, and if you don't?
I'm sure.
What did you say?
like
A lot of
believe it's
yeah.
I have
I use like this two-dimensional semantics.
I
because
have feeling, but
like
I don't
philosophy
have proof.
of the other
That's why I
semantics.
believe.
Okay, so it's like in the end, it's a matter of like preference and matter of taste.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Еще вопросы, комментарии? Если нет, то коллеги, поздравляю вас с завершением.